Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Rev. And the Democratic National Convention is on. Lollapalooza and Woodstock. Oh, joy, joy, happy, happy, happy. So,
I was listening to the polling that's been done since Kamala Harris has become the nominee. And this shows you how dumb the Democrats are. She is supposed to be elected to the nominee during the convention, but the Democrats scheduled the convention 2 weeks after the deadline to appear on a ballot. That was August 7th. So they had to do a virtual convention. And since that time that she got the official nod, if you want to call it that, they say that her polling numbers have been steadily increasing. And then I was surprised, I saw this on NBC. They said that when it comes to the economy, Trump has got it locked down. When it comes to immigration, Trump has got it locked down. But according to the liberal media, Kamala has it locked down because she has a plan. And Trump isn't giving us any plans. He's just doing attacks. I can agree with that. We need to hear from Trump his plan. I think we need to hear more of the plan. The attacks are wonderful, but without hearing anything of the plan, and somebody said this that was interviewed on the street, said, until I hear a plan, I can't make a decision. I've already got one from Kamala.
Yeah, well, look, I'll tell you what, that just goes to show how stupid and malleable and unable to interpret actual English and understand anything about economics these people are. Because number one, the Democratic demographic doesn't care. They have their base has two parts. The rich elitists who don't care, like Barbara Streisand and all the rest of these Jews for Kamala. They don't care what they do to the homeland because she's a billionaire. They have the rich elitists and the idiots who don't know anything about the world. They do not care about economics. They don't care about the border. They don't care about it. They worry about Taylor Swift's concert being
Exactly.
canceled. And they want to be like, joy, joy, happy, joy. We're elected, so I guess we should elect a pothead as our president and vice president because joy runs the country. It doesn't. She did put forth a plan, and now people are saying her numbers are going down. Right. Wage and price controls do not work. They've been tried all over the world. They've been tried in the United States. Nixon tried it. Carter tried it. They destroy the economy. They don't have even a fundamental grasp of economics, okay? Trump has put forth the problem. Look, these idiots, Trump ran a country for 4 years. This is Thomas. He knows how to run the economy. We had 1.4 inflation. What did he say? He doesn't have to make this complicated. He said, drill, baby, drill.
That's right.
Drill, baby, drill. That's what he said. Stop, make money with oil. Drop the prices again. That's what kills inflation. Printing money and giving more people money only increases inflation. Not giving out $25,000 for first homeowners. These people infuriate me. They're so freaking stupid. But and they're also morons because all they ever do is listen to propaganda. They never do their homework. And on the first show, I said, do your homework. They don't even have a rudimentary understanding of economics. That policy that she put forth, even liberal media are beginning to crucify her. Liberal newspapers, people on CNN and MSNBC were kicking the shit out of her when she started talking about wage and price controls and giving out more money. And now they're starting to do the moonwalk backwards a little bit because she has no plan. This is all about joy. Oh yeah, because she's got nothing. That was they were going to kick 2 months ago. They were going to kick her off the ticket. Now the media is now resurrecting her as the second coming of Christ. And if the people can't figure that out, because listen, this election is not going to be won by the Democratic base or the Republican base. It's going to be won by the independent base. The independents are going to decide, because the idiots that live on TikTok don't know where Palestine is, don't care we're on the verge of World War III, and are more worried about Taylor Swift and what the influencers on TikTok do. They don't care about, they got all these priorities. Oh, economy, border, crime. They don't give a shit unless it affects them directly, which it does, but they don't even know it because they're living in their mommy's basement. So they don't care. So they're going to get their base. He's going to get his base. And the independents are going to have to decide. And it's going to be a media blitz to remind them, number one, of her flip-flopping all over the place. And secondly, it comes down to a real simple question. They're going to ask it. And if the Democrats can poison their brain enough where they forget, real simple question: are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? The answer to that is no. And the Democrats lie. One of these idiots from their campaign saying, Trump left this country in a mess and like inflation. No, he didn't. They had 1.4. Then we got COVID. We were paying less than $2 for gas in some places, around $2. I just saw a commercial with Trump. He was going over groceries. Butter's up 31%. This is up 40-some%. This is up. Everybody, 66 and two-thirds of the country, let's make it 67% of the people, are living paycheck to paycheck. 4 years ago, they weren't. I've seen interviews of people who were even some Democrats saying, I was a lot better off 4 years ago, because they keep talking. Democrats lie all the time. They say that, wages are going up. They are going up, but they're not keeping up with inflation. And these boneheads can't figure out, if your pay goes up $5 a week and it costs you $100 a week more to pay your bills, you lost money. It's that simple, CJ. I mean, this thing, I've never seen in all the years, and I've been following politics for a very, very long time, as have you. I have never seen anything like this, where they took somebody. This is just like Goebbels. They took somebody with no policies. Then they didn't talk about policies for 2 or 3 weeks. And then when she did, it was a patchwork quilt of stealing some stuff from Trump and then doing some of the socialist stuff like wage and price controls and all this other stuff. There's no substance to this campaign. Like I said, it's a combination of Woodstock and Lollapalooza. And with that, back to you.
The really sad part about it is, as you said, it's a combination of Trump's policies and plans with the mixture of the socialist, communist, and Marxist propaganda. Okay? And as you said, the people need to remember what it was like 4 years ago. And I am so tired of hearing Kamala Harris turn around and say, we are going to build you up. We're going to build you up because that's leadership. Knocking you down isn't leadership. And that's what Trump's doing, knocking you down. We're building you up, and that's leadership. You know what? Leadership is more than just building people up. Okay? I can blow smoke up your ass all you want, but that doesn't mean I'm a leader. There's a lot more to leadership than just blowing smoke up your ass. Just like there's a lot more to a presidential campaign than platitudes, copycat plans, socialism and tearing your opponent down with personal attacks. Get rid of the personal attacks, because both sides are guilty of them. Both sides are guilty of them. Okay? Kamala's done it. Trump has done it. Trump says it's in response to Kamala's. Kamala says it's in response to Trump's. I don't care who did it first. Doesn't make anyone better. The people want to know the issues and where you stand on them. They want to make an informed decision.
I'm not even sure if that's true for most of the people that they're talking about in this election. Because, listen, let me say this: I don't care if they call each other names, because that's fine as long as they have substance to what they're saying. You know, everybody's different. You talked about building them up. Trump's tearing them down because he called them a bad name and he offended their delicate sensibilities. That's got nothing to do with running a country. You know, if somebody thinks you're an asshole and calls you an asshole, he's got the courage to look in your eye and say it. Like when somebody told me, say it to my face, and I said it to his face. Yeah,
I was there.
And I said it in spades. Some people don't like that. They're very delicate. They get hurt. They're worried about names. Sticks and stones break their bones, and names always hurt them. But Kamala Harris was the person who tore us down. The 3.5 years of the Biden-Harris administration wrecked this country economically. She's not building up the economy with this plan. She's trying to build up their little delicate psyches, stroking them. Oh, you look so nice today. Oh, I'm building you up. I love your pronouns. You're going to pay 51% more for your car insurance and 23% more for your water. But you look wonderful today. That's what they're doing. They're catering to their base, which is like, I can call everybody else names, but if you call me the wrong pronoun, I have a nervous breakdown and I want you arrested and put in jail, possibly executed. This is all BS. I've never seen anything like this in my life, but it's absolutely pure propaganda. All you have to do is look at one of the things she stole from Trump. No taxes on tips. She was the deciding vote on getting IRS agents to collect taxes on tips in the Senate. Everybody, they're releasing that video now. So she was not for not taxing tips, but she found out it was popular. But what did they look at what the media? That's right. Nobody's name calling's ever going to hurt you. Like Sun Tzu said, you know, if you worry about what people say about you, you're the prisoner. Don't be anybody's prisoner. If somebody thinks you're an asshole, well, let them think that. As long as you don't think you're an asshole. That's it. It's what you think of yourself. Be at one with yourself. Don't worry about the rest of the idiots in the world. Okay? But let's go back to how they covered that. When Trump came out with, I'm not going to tax tips. You know what the media did? They had headlines all over the place. This is terrible. This is terrible. The government is going to lose $250 million in taxes because these people are robbing their tip money. Oh, it's horrible. Look what Trump's doing. What a shitty idea this is. Kamala Harris says it. Oh, what a wonderful idea to stimulate the economy. What a great idea, Kamala. Oh, this is great. And they had the two of those articles side by side. I saw them. And it's probably going to be on a commercial. This is the difference. You don't believe media. Because the media in this country, both sides, are total propaganda. They're no longer news organizations. They're propaganda machines. And just look at that tax thing. Like I said, when Trump did it, they jumped up. They jumped all over. They jumped all over. Oh, the government's going to lose money. These people are stealing their tip money. And then as soon as Kamala said it, it was like, oh, this is the greatest idea since sliced bread. And this is the problem, CJ. This election is a I mean, it's just it's a mess.
I've always called it political sport. I've always called it political sport.
Yeah, because this is crazy.
And how appropriate for an Olympics year.
But as you can see, we get hyped up when it comes to these elections. And now watching that, I don't watch the these conventions. I just watch the lowlights and the highlights. And depending on your perspective, the lowlights are the highlights and the highlights are the lowlights, depending on your perspective. But let's get back to distortions. We talked, it's a good segue about how things get distorted. New Bedford, I guess, they were very, very upset because they had some shootings. New Bedford, but the mayor of New Bedford, to his credit, did have some press conferences. They talked about what they're trying to do, and you have to sympathize with obviously the police. They have a never-ending job because there's never not going to be crime, and it is what it is. And I know at least the public has been brought into the loop to know what they're doing. But then we get down to what happens when we have this. And I know that, we see all over the country with this crime thing, the way they're manipulating statistics. New York City now only counts a shooting if somebody gets hit. Now, FBI stats got manipulated because that's what they do in everything. And I know that. Listen, both sides do it. Because I negotiated contracts too. City wants to show they're broke. They show one thing, the books. They want to show they're flush to boost their bond rating. They show another bunch of things. Crime stats, fire stats. Listen, I negotiated and I saw other cities that had Fall River. When I was on a job historically, especially early in my career, we were the busiest city of our size in the state of Massachusetts by a mile. Only Boston and Worcester beat us, and sometimes we even beat Worcester for fires. They were burning down a city in those days. We had 5,000 runs on a 4th of July weekend. And they were throwing bottles at us, bricks at us. And but we had other communities that pumped up their runs by, if they sent 3 trucks to an alarm, they counted it as 3 calls. Where we didn't. 1 call with a task force response, it was 1 alarm. And I'll give you a stat. At one period of time, I went before the council to show that Fall River in that quarter from the Mass Fire Marshal had 528 arson fires, and New Bedford had 21. So do the math. But it's not that. I mean, fire's different. People have fires. We had a lot of intentional fires in those days. They used to have arson for revenge. Now they shoot each other. So the police have got that burden, unfortunately. But it's not about these stats. That's why it pains me when I see these. They're trying to assuage the people's concerns by saying crime's down. Well, is it? When you manipulate the numbers, it's like when they lowered the height requirement for fire and police because they couldn't get enough ethnic groups who were shorter, because at one time the police department had a 5'7" height requirement. I believe state police had a 5'8" height requirement, or 5'9" for state, 8 or 9. It was a little bit bigger than the city police officers. They got that. And then they changed the physical fitness exam, which was the same for fire and police, because they couldn't get enough females to pass it. It required too much upper body strength. Heaven forbid somebody that has a job that requires upper body strength would have to have upper body strength. And then they lowered the score for a while, a passing test score, to get more people in when they had that big push. So this isn't what counts. And I understand that they're required to do this because they work for the politicians, and the politicians want you to go in there and they just make them feel better. But they don't. Because my point is, it's the perception of the people in a community. Even if crime has gone down, if they don't think it has, they don't feel safe. And if it has, and you're saying it hasn't, well, they're right about not feeling safe. But the fact is, it's about how a community feels. And I'll rest my case with this one, with apart from the preamble of the preamble to the Constitution. You know, we the people of the United States, in order to form a perfect union, establish justice, blah blah blah, and then it gets to that one line: ensure domestic tranquility. That means that our nation, when it was created, our forefathers said that our government has an obligation to provide us with domestic tranquility, which means a safe environment to live in. That's what it means. And when they manipulate numbers and stuff to make you feel better, I don't agree with that tactic. I'm sorry. You know, I just don't agree with it. I think they should just tell you we're working our ass off. We got a plan, and we're working. And then if you hold that against them, well, I don't know how you can. These guys are out on the street every day, and they're trying, and they're working, and they got a lot of work, and you got to respect what they do. And that's all you can ask, that we got a plan. And that's the problem I have in the city of Fall River. Unlike New Bedford, we got a mayor that hides in his office all the time. He doesn't we don't know anything. He says, don't worry about the bullet holes in the building. Don't worry about the shell casings on the street. Don't worry about the sound of gunfire. We're just not going to count it. If you don't see a hole, we're not going to count it. So this is not what you do. You go there and say, listen, the police chief, and we're working on this. This is what we're doing. And respect what they do, because I do. They're out there every day. Even when we went to the council meeting, I had 2 police officers there at the council meeting. And, they said hello, and I said hello back to them. And you look at that, and I said, good evening, officer. And I told them when I left, I said, be safe, because that's all you can ask as someone who lives in a community, is that the community is attempting to make it a better community for you. But when you got a mayor that never, ever avoids everything and never, ever divulges a plan to get anything done, he's hamstringing our police and everybody else in this city. With that, CJ, back to you.
Well, and I do the same thing when I see police officers, whether it's at the coffee shop or, coming off a call, or, coming out of the convenience store, whatever it may be. When I see them, I always tell them, have a great day and stay safe, officer. I always say that to them because it's important. It's important so that they know they're being supported. And no, George, the teachers have not settled their contract yet. They're still working on it. Because remember, that 5% they got is the best contract in the state. Best contract in the state. But it's going to be interesting. And, I want to delve away from this for a second. As you've seen, we've got more heavy rains today, overnight. And we're supposed to have some more heavy rains later on this afternoon. So my question is, have they done anything to plan for the Laterno School, for the Green School, for the Doran School? Have they done anything to plan for any of these schools that are suffering floods? Even a small amount of water. And I don't mean calling in the staff from the day and evening shift to pump it out. Because again, if you're not doing anything to plan, and again, we're talking about Kenny. So, but again, he's, according to Tom Corey, he's, the next best thing to God. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. But CJ, as we get back to, we never get any plan. You're right. Do they have a plan? And what they actually should do, I'm going to give them a suggestion because I know they watch all the time. We know they never give us any information, but rather than even just try to duck it, they should just take a little snippet and release it every time somebody like you or I asks a question that they won't answer because they cover everything up and they don't have a plan. Just have a little snippet and just run it on their website of Sergeant Schultz and just say, I know nothing. I know nothing. Because that's what you get in this city. Nobody knows anything. And Tommy Corey, the cheerleader for everything political, nobody pays attention to him. That obsequious lackey has been doing that his entire life. Everybody that's politically that's political is the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's the greatest musician. He's the greatest this. He's the greatest that. Everybody's the greatest everything. And the people he doesn't like, he just avoids. And they hide everything. So, listen, these are all propagandists. I don't want to hear how great everybody is. Show me. Show me the money. Kamala wants to fix this country. Show me the money. You wrecked the country. You're going to accuse Trump of tearing the country down. He's not in office. You are. The country's wrecked. Don't blame. These people love to put it's these people that, you're negative. No, just show me something. Reduce my water bill by 23%, Paul. Go back to the old rates. Go back to the old rates. Give me the tax break you promised when you ran for your first term in office. Do something that you promised, Paul. Just one thing. Be honest. You're going to follow the law? Follow the law. Yeah, you're going to be transparent? Be transparent. Give us the money that you promised us. Give us the money. You said we weren't going to pay for the derpy debt by 23, or at least the whole thing, and we are.
That's right.
You haven't done one thing that you promised in your first term of office. So go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say the same thing. There hasn't been a promise kept. Okay? And the worst part about it was, and we heard this once before, okay? I know I didn't do a good job the first time, but I'm asking you for a second chance. Remember a politician who said that? Remember the politician who said that? I didn't do a good job the first time. So I'm coming back to you and asking you to please give me a second chance. That's what Paul did. Only he didn't say that. He said, oh, Forum is wonderful. Look at everything I've done. I've gotten rid of 79. I've got the pier. I've done this. I brought the train. He's the Oracle at Delphi. Okay, I'm gonna, when you see him and he walks by, make sure you genuflect in front of him. It's important. It's important because he is the all-knowing, all-powerful shit pie face. I'm sorry for saying that. No, I'm not. But have you seen every picture of him? It looks like he's been hit with a shit pie. Every single picture. The man never smiles anymore. Yeah. He sits in a meeting and he starts screaming at people. He violates the law in the meeting and then gets the attorney to violate the law to justify. And we've seen that happen with Rumsey, and now we've seen it happen with Assad. And we saw Tom Corey at that school committee meeting touting Mimi Larry. Oh, she's wonderful. She's the best thing going. She's got a wonderful job. She's doing it. She's making something for these kids.
Yeah, 53% graduation rate. She's doing, right. They're doing a lot. And like I said, but I don't hear him espousing the fact that they should not be bargaining in public because it's illegal. the school committee should not be running their mouths, because it is a violation of Chapter 150E. It is a prohibited practice. And I'm very, very disappointed in the teachers union for not filing a prohibited practice against them and making them close their traps. Shame on them for not doing that. But I mean,
yeah, but you know that, and I'm not trying to defend the administration, but the school teachers are just as guilty. The FREA publishes the result of their negotiations almost every night. This is what happened. And I don't know if that's in response to what the administration has done, or if they're trying to say, look, this is what they're offering us, and they're saying it's the best thing in the world, because that's the one thing they say in it. And they when they publish it, they put numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 of the misstatements that the administration is making to the public.
Yeah, well, you realize how counterproductive that is.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Number one, not only being illegal, but it's illegal because you're not supposed to do that. But this is what happens. You get into the dance of the chickens, as I used to call it, and then you got your entire membership negotiating the contract. Every bargaining unit has a bargaining committee. Believe me, I did this for a quarter of a century, and I consulted to a lot of unions throughout the state: police, fire, nurses. The way you're supposed to bargain is you go and you prepare to go to bargaining, and then you go to a union meeting and you ask for, suggestions, and then the executive board and the bargaining committee put together a bunch of proposals. Now, some of them are throwaways, some of them they have to be prioritized, and then you go into bargaining. But once you get in bargaining, that's it. The membership now is not, you don't give them a day by, we throw out this proposal, we made this new proposal within the parameters, because in bargaining you normally have a window. First 3 meetings, you set the rules, and after the 3rd meeting you normally cannot introduce any new proposals, period. You just have to work with what you got on the table. And then you only tell them when you come to a tentative agreement. Then you go and you call a union meeting, and in our case we have to call 2 because we have shifts. So you could get the day shift in at the night meeting, and the guys who are working nights could go to a day meeting, and everybody can get to the meeting. And then you have the handout sheets with all what the contract contained, et cetera, et cetera. Final product. It's supposed to be a process that is private and sacred to prevent this kind of BS. Because this is just to change, get people for you and against you. Oh, it's not the best kind. Oh, it is the best kind. Then you got 900 teachers getting 900 opinions. Well, you elect the bargaining committee. You vote on the proposals before you go to bargaining, and then you work with it. And the reason that this doesn't happen anymore is in the old days, we used to fight for contracts. You'd go in there, you'd have all your data on all your demands to show why you deserve that benefit, because how you stacked up with departments in your universe of your size. And you earned it. You won it. And if they wouldn't give it to you, you go to the JLMC like I did twice and won every element, because I had the data. You don't bargain in a paper. I slammed a state senator for sticking their nose in our bargaining. I still got the newspaper article. You remember our senator from Somerset, Joan Menard? We were having a real difficult bargaining. I don't know if that was one of the years we ended up in a JLMC or not, or we settled, but it's irrelevant. She stuck in her, she made a public statement to the paper, and I crucified her. I made a statement to the newspaper. I called the state, complained. She actually, but I think that's the only time she actually apologized in the newspaper for interfering with the bargaining. Eddie Lambert pulled the same thing. We were having trouble with the bargaining. He sent a copy of their version of what had happened to every single union member. I filed a prohibited practice, and we won it. And then just to show him, I called a union meeting and said, he's trying to, he's lying. Trust the bargaining committee. Let's vote on the contract that he sent you. And they voted it down 280 something to 5. And then he shut up. This is not the way things are supposed to be done. There are laws. But now, like the Democrats don't care about laws, the Supreme Court says you can't do it, Biden still does it. They don't do it. And unions have gotten to the point where they got things by politically kissing up. When I took over the union, they didn't even make me chief of the department because of my union activities. They said, yeah, you're not going to make you won't do what you're told. That cost me the chief of the department's job. I was on a list, but they laughed. I knew I wasn't going to get the job, but I didn't care. But the fact is that you're supposed to do things within the parameters of the process, and they don't anymore because all you got to do is look what happened. After I retired, we had one president for a year, then he had Coogan, and look what he did. Sold his own union down a river to become the chief of the department and jumped from lieutenant all the way up to chief of the department. And that lasted about 13 days. But the fact is, this is what they do. They ingratiate themselves with the politicians and they get bought off. But then comes a time where the money starts drying up, and then the politicians and they yank the money. Paul's giving out too much money, so he had to screw his own the teachers, and it's wrong. But now look, it seems like no one knows or is afraid to use the law. I know the teachers union's got enough money and they got a state association to file a prohibited practice, but they let this stuff go. It's baffling to me how you would allow this to go. You cannot bargain in the newspapers. And that's simple. And with that, CJ, back to you.
It seems simple, but obviously, when I pick up my social media pages and I'm seeing today's results of the negotiations, somebody isn't following the law. Somebody isn't following past practice. Somebody isn't doing good practices. And that's what costs the people money. And it costs the people their reputation. And your reputation as a union should be more important than what the public thinks or what the politicians think. Because if you have a good reputation as a union, that you fight for your membership, because that's your job, you fight for your membership, and you get your membership what they deserve, there shouldn't be a problem. And I've never, in all the years that I've been around, never have I seen a contract negotiated in public so much like this one. And I don't know why. I mean, I don't know if they're trying to keep the parents informed, if they're trying to keep the public informed, if they're trying to make the union look bad, if they're trying to make the politicians look bad. I don't know what it is. It could be any number of things. But the problem is, just because you're trying to prove something doesn't mean you're any better if they're doing it. Two wrongs don't make a right.
CJ, you're right. It's all of the above. Everything you said. It's about political leverage, trying to get people on your side, not being a strong enough union leader to tell your membership, listen, you don't get a day-by-day account of what's going on at the table, because that's a environment. They throw a proposal, you throw a proposal back, and there's all kinds of adjustments to languages. But you don't have union leadership strong enough to tell the membership, listen, we went over everything that we were going to go to the table on before we went. Now you got to just hold your mud until this is over and we get a final product. Because in between the beginning and the end, there's literally thousands and thousands of proposals and discussions and everything else. And it'll drive you crazy if you attempt to get involved in it. But I remember the time when they had Jerry Fallon.
Ah, yeah, Jerry.
And union leaders, Billy Kaler. Those guys fought. I remember when the school teachers struck.
That's right.
I remember when the school teachers struck. They fought for what they got.
That's right.
And they control. They told their membership, look, you elected us, and there's a process here. Keep. And I remember going to an alarm, and I was a DC at the time. I think I had just made DC, not that long. But I remember when they were on strike and we had the Brayton Avenue School came in on a box alarm. And, of course, we have to check the building. And they were picketing outside the Brayton Avenue School. And I pulled up. And, of course, Jerry was a good friend of mine. And so was Billy Kaler and all these people. And I remember getting out of the chief's car. And I said, Jerry, we have to check the building. I said, but I'm not going to let it doesn't look like there's anything here. I'm going to go in and check it myself. It's probably just a defective alarm, probably a false alarm. But if we need them, I'm going to have to call them in. But nobody's going to cross your picket line. I said, but we have to, because this obviously is an emergency. This is public safety. I said, we can't just not go into a building. I said, so I'm going to cross the picket line. But I remember that picket line. I remember when the teachers were picketing. I remember when Billy Kaler was fighting with the mayor all the time. This wasn't kumbaya, let's make a deal. You kiss mine and I'll kiss yours. This is when unions were unions. And they fought for what they got, and they earned what they got. And now the membership's out of control. They want a minute by minute thing so they can put in their input. No, you put in your input before you go to bargaining. You go to the meetings, you make proposals that you think should be proposed, then you hash it out, then you get your packet that you're going to take to the bargaining table. Everybody knows what you got, and then between that and the final package, that's it. Case closed, nobody knows anything. Then you bring that final package when your bargaining committee feels they've made an agreement that that will represent their membership to the best of their ability. It's the best thing they can get. They bring it back. And the membership then has the right to reject it. And then they can go over it in detail. But everything in between, it's like going on a 1,000-mile journey and arguing every quarter of a mile where you are. It's absurd. You can't bargain this way. Nobody can bargain this way.
But also, you and I have talked about this. The city and the unions haven't rewritten their contracts in years, decades, it seems. Okay? They keep doing it with the same contract, with the memorandum of understanding with these additions. And usually it's money, benefits. Write a new contract already. You're too damn lazy to write a contract?
Technically, that's almost a violation of the law. 150 says a contract's got to last 3 years, but every contract has what they call an evergreen clause. It says that this contract that shall stay in full effect until replaced by a successor agreement. It doesn't say successor memorandum of understanding. Normally, MOUs and side letters are something came up in the middle of a 3-year contract that was unexpected, and then the city and the union negotiate that one item. They don't reopen the entire collective bargaining agreement. They negotiate that particular item, and then they attach an MOU or a side letter of agreement, which then will be put into the contract, the new contract, in solid language. This is why we've got the problems we have with all this accrual of sick time and every other thing, and comp days where they got to stay on the payroll for 2 years because they make these ridiculous things. They stick them in and they just pile things on top. Now you got to go into that contract and you got to wade through all these MOUs and everything else in the original contract language. It's a nightmare because you've got, like I said, you got people who don't understand, and the people who negotiate for the city, they don't care. They just want to take the easy way out. It's easier to just attach an MOU and leave the other language without really looking at anything. And you know as well as I do that this is a problem because look at all the problems we've had about, they did this, but they weren't supposed to do that. But it's in the MOU, but the contract says something different. But does it? It's just crazy. I mean, it's just lack of, yeah. And the city bargaining people don't care. They're getting big money, and they'll do it the easy way. And you remember, what does the contract say, CJ? That it has to be signed by the city, the union, and it has to be read for what? By the corporation council.
By corporate council, but that's only in form. He doesn't say
inform, exactly. And what's an MOU? It's part of the form, right?
That's right.
There you go.
Yep. But it creates what I call the labor labyrinth because you got to negotiate this whole labyrinth of paperwork to get to the actual function. Makes it difficult, really does. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. It's been a great show. The Democratic National Committee starts tonight. The major networks are carrying it. They're also streaming it live. I don't know if you want to watch it. Tonight, it's going to be Joe Biden speaking, and I think he's going to have his swan song. So it's up to you. I'd rather just watch the highlights and see where it goes, just like I did for the Republican committee. I don't need to pluck up my eyeballs like I do with the city council meeting. I want to thank you for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.